What's up, guys? Welcome to Newswave Week in Review. It's our Saturday show where we go back through this past week in Newswave, check out some of the bigger topics that you guys had talked about in the comments below, go through your comments, respond to them, and have some fun generally. It's a good time, and I like to see what you guys have to say based around some of the topics we talk about every weekday here, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. You can stop by. And this is also a good way to kind of get caught up on the past week in news, as we're going to look at some of the bigger topics that we saw this past week. Now, if you're new here, consider subscribing if you enjoy the video game news, technology, teardowns, and stuff like that. We have a good time here on the channel, so we're more than happy for you to join us here. So with that, let's get started. Monday kicked off the week of rumors that took over the internet with a Crash Bandicoot mention showing up from a merchandising company that is currently working with Activision. In the listing, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy was named for Switch and PC, as well as a new Crash game planned for 2019. Ryder Oz says, if Crash Bandicoot would be released for the Switch, Crash Bandicoot confirmed for the next Smash? I don't know, is that allowed? I guess they could put Crash Bandicoot in Super Smash Bros. Even if he doesn't technically show up in a game on the Switch. They could kind of still do that. Now, this is really funny because this actually goes back to when Crash was outside of Nintendo headquarters kind of calling Mario out. Do you remember those commercials? That I do. I love those commercials. Those were great. Where they had really the mascot, a person dressed up in the costume, show up with a big megaphone kind of yelling at the outside of Nintendo headquarters saying, you know, get your plumber out here and everything.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived.
Those were, the 90s had some of the best commercials, I'm telling you. If you go back and just see some of the better 90s commercials, there were some gems back then. But this was one that's always stuck with me, and I did have that thought at one point. I mean, we've seen Pac-Man. We even see Solid Snake join the fight in Smash Bros. Something I thought I'd never see, but he joins in. Cloud is there, you know, Ryu's there. Why not? I mean, seriously, throw Crash in there. That would be really fun. And I think his moveset that he uses in his games right now would actually work well in Smash Bros. You could have him like kind of tornado across. I'm sure they give him a couple smash moves, some different things. And maybe his like ultimate move is where he puts on the mask and starts running across the screen and hit everybody. There's some cool stuff they could do there with me. In fact, let me know, guys, down in the comments if you would want Crash to join and what kind of his moveset might be in, let's say, a role in Super Smash Bros. I guess the most recent one. We'll go with that on the Wii U. Tuesday saw the internet talking about rumors of Call of Duty Black Ops 4 being this year's Call of Duty, along with it possibly being designed for all platforms, including the Switch. Since these rumors have gone up, Eurogamer managed to back these rumors up with sources. However, they have not heard anything about a Switch version. The One Mouseketeer says, I honestly hope that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is set in Cold War or Gulf War era. Would love to have East Germans fighting West Germans, North Koreans versus South Koreans, maybe even US versus USSR. I think having it set in modern day may let the developers make it too futuristic, but we'll see. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. See, Black Ops has done nothing but go further into the future, and while there were a lot of people who liked the third one, there are also a lot of people who didn't like the third one, and based on the reception of this most recent Call of Duty, WW2, everyone seemed to like the more realistic approach, something that dealt more with history, while still kind of making their own story out of the events, which was really neat. So if you're a history buff, you actually had a reason to play through, in this case, the single player, just to see how they dealt with some of the events that actually happened. And I like that too. And I would like to see maybe Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, I should say, rather go further and further into the future. Maybe take a step back, look at something that's not super old, maybe a little more current even. Something that's taken place maybe in the past, 50 years or so. And like they're saying here, maybe do something with like North Korea versus South Korea. They could do all kinds of cool stuff and make their own almost like historical fiction piece out of it. And I think that'd be really neat to see. They could do all kinds of stuff, or I guess they could go further into the future. But if they go any further into the future, it's basically going to be a sci-fi game and not as much of what we've known Call of Duty to be in the past, right? Where it was this gritty, I mean, we did kind of know it originally as a World War style game, right? Whereas World War II. But then they, of course, got more and more into modern times and further in the future. I would like to see something either modern times or prior to that. Just see what they could do with the Black Ops series. But you guys have to let me know if you'd prefer Black Ops to go further into the future, I guess into space and everything, or if you'd prefer them to go back, maybe pick out something from history that's not as well known and create a story around it. Wednesday went over a report that Red Dead Redemption would have a Battle Royale mode added as an option for multiplayer. This, of course, comes after the massive success of PUBG, which made the Battle Royale mode very popular. Well, Taco2 says, if every multiplayer is shoved with a Battle Royale, it kills the essence of multiplayer. Seriously, when did everyone online a game become PUBG? See, this is something that I think people forget about this. Whenever something really successful is found in gaming, everyone copies it. And this isn't anything different that's going on now with PUBG. Remember when zombies became very popular in gaming? Yeah, everybody started making zombie games. We still have that with Metal Gear Survive, essentially making a zombie style game where hordes of zombies, or these enemies that basically are zombies, come after you. We've seen people try to evolve the zombie genre, like with something like Last of Us. But for the most part, if they figure it out, they go after it. I mean, look at what happened with multiplayer first-person shooters after Call of Duty 4, where they kind of made this whole progression system through first-person shooters online. Sure, there were others that did that prior, but that popularized it, and then everyone started doing that with their online shooters, where they tried to make you gain levels, you gained experience. I mean, Rainbow Six had that jammed right in there after that, you know, when we saw it with like Vegas, or Rainbow Six Vegas, and Rainbow Six Vegas 2, which I liked the second one a lot. I thought it was a great game. But you see what happens. People copy off of these successes. That happens all the time. What we're seeing now is seriously just the most recent one that's being copied, and that's the Battle Royale mode. It's shown that it's very popular, pulls in the crowd, and because PUBG has made everyone so aware of it at this point, I mean, they've sold over 30 million copies now. That's a lot of customers that might come to your game just because it has a Battle Royale mode. So I really cannot blame them for trying to shoehorn this stuff in, because it's going to get them a bigger, consistent online community just probably from that one mode. That might be the most played online multiplayer mode in Red Dead Redemption if it is polished and works well, just because the game itself is already popular, but then you add in Battle Royale, and yeah, you're going to get a ton of people in for that. Thursday went over a listing found on LinkedIn that seemed to point to Metroid Prime 4 getting developed by Bandai Namco, with Nintendo overseeing the project. It was further cemented the following day when Eurogamer posted multiple sources confirming the news. Brando92711 says, I really hope they can get some former retro guys involved in Metroid Prime 4 just for consistency's sake. Also, Kenji Yamamoto has to be involved in the game's music. I'm pretty confident Yamamoto probably will be involved in some way with them creating the music or the score for this game. The bigger thing here is people seem to forget that Nintendo can talk to retro. Like, let's say Bandai Namco, they need help. Maybe the Singapore people need help with an aspect, or they want to get some history around the game. What was their original vision for it? Where do they see the story going? I'm sure Nintendo can help them get in contact with people from Retro Studios that are still there, because I'm sure they've had turnover and people have changed jobs and positions, but I'm sure they can get a hold of them and say, hey, we're doing this. We want to make sure the design of this level at least matches the original feel or the idea you had, because we want it to still feel like Metroid Prime. What do you guys think about this design? I'm sure Nintendo can get people's opinions there, since, you know, I'm sure that people are getting paid. They could say, hey, can you take a look over this level design? Can you take a look over the music? Can you take a look over the characters here? You know, the story that they're going with. What do you think of that? I'm sure these are things that the people at Retro, or at least some people, can kind of be contracted out just to double check and make sure they're on the right path here. People seem to think they're just closed off. Bandai Namco Singapore is just closed off in this little bubble, and they cannot get help or talk to anyone else that Nintendo probably has contacts with. I would expect at this point Retro Studios to at least kind of maybe help them a little bit here and there. They're not going to develop it completely or anything like that. But if there's a problem that comes up, or they're trying to fill up maybe, I guess, a small plot hole or something, I'm sure Retro Studios can read over a memo or an email and say, this is what I would have done. Friday went over a rewards program for the Nintendo Switch. This program will give customers money back up to 5% of their initial purchase when buying a game. We also talked a bit about Activision's financials, where they showed a massive revenue of $4 billion earned from in-game purchases, including microtransactions. Saldana Marino says, love the show, $4 billion for microtransactions. Geez, but are people who spend up to $4 billion on microtransactions really casual? You know, I had the same thought after I talked about it on that news wave, and I figured, yeah, okay, casuals who don't have as much time. Maybe they do just drop money in and go about their day as, you know, they make their person really powerful, or they get this outfit that they don't want to grind for. But then I thought about it. It could also be on the other side of the spectrum, where people who really care about this game, who have put a lot of time and they're just not getting lucky with their drops or anything, they could also say, you know what, I need this because I play this game so much. I'm just gonna put money in so that way I can show off when I'm in a game. That's also extremely possible, especially when you think of cosmetics with Overwatch, and there's this outfit that they really want and they just cannot get it, right? But they say, you know what, I care a lot about what I look like in this game. I'm just going to put money in and try my best to get this thing just by putting money in over and over until I see it. That's an addiction problem that I think people are starting to realize now exists. And yeah, I can see hardcore gamers doing this and not admitting it even. And then I can also see just casuals doing it just because they want to, you know, get caught up a bit, whether it's something that directly affects their progression or just to look cool alongside their friends, you know, when they're playing. I think there's two ends here. Believe it or not, I think the people that don't spend much money at all in this game are kind of in the middle. People who play it, you know, a couple times a week and just for fun, and they don't really think about taking their wallet out because they don't care as much. So you have people that just have no time. They're just like, I'll throw money in. And then you have people who really, really care about this game and they're going to throw the money in. It's very interesting to think about it that way. Master MP2 says, a little rant here. 2015 equals Final Fantasy VII Remake announced with CGI trailer, then gameplay trailer. Let me repeat, gameplay trailer shown at PSX same year. If in this year's E3 there are no news about Final Fantasy VII Remake, then I don't care about it anymore, won't look into Final Fantasy VII Remake news videos or click on any articles or anything. This is a problem that I think Square, Sony, a lot of developers are starting to realize. If you announce something way in advance, right, it's cool to kind of build hype for something. Like, let's say it's a year, maybe 2 years at the most out. I don't know when Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming out. I'm going to tell you that now. We talked about it in the news wave. I don't know if it's coming out on the PS4. It might be a PS5 game because I think they were banking on Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out first. And Kingdom Hearts 3 just kept getting pushed back, and now it's coming out 2018. But I think they have this roadmap set up where Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out first, then Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out. But they can't put them out too close together, so you gotta kick Final Fantasy VII Remake into either the end of 2019 or sometime in 2020. By 2020, we are all gonna be talking about the PS5 because it would have either been hinted at by Sony or even just straight up shown off to us, and it's coming out later that year. If Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out when the PS5 comes out and it's not a PS5 game, how many people are actually going to care about that? That's my concern. It has to be, if that's the case, a PS4 and a PS5 game, kind of like what we saw with something like Breath of the Wild, right? Released on the Wii U, released on the Switch. The Switch just came out, so people are buying the Switch version. If it came out alongside the PS5, I would probably just buy it on the PS5. That'd be a launch day game. That'd be a good launch day game, by the way. It would help move a lot of systems. But people are realizing this now. We're starting to see announcements of games that are coming out within the year of its announcements. Spider-Man, I think, is another one that has suffered a bit from just being out too long. The initial shock of, wow, this dedicated Spider-Man game that's only going to be on one platform. Insomniac's making it. It's kind of wearing off on me. The one game that seems to not have really any issues with this is Kingdom Hearts 3, and I think that's just because the lore around the series is so big that Kingdom Hearts 3 seriously is held up as like legendary status. Like when people buy this game when it comes out, Kingdom Hearts 3 that is, it's going to be almost like, wow, I can't believe I actually have Kingdom Hearts 3 in my hand. That's kind of what's going to happen. But Spider-Man doesn't really have that kind of a legacy behind it because this is the first one that Insomniac's doing. This is the first one that's really going to be built from the ground up for one system like the PS4. So it doesn't have that backing that something like Kingdom Hearts has. I could even say Final Fantasy VII doesn't really have that backing either. It's more of a remake rather than a brand new title like something with Kingdom Hearts 3. So, I mean, we'll see. I just hope it's out by next year, because if it's not and it's episodic, that's gotta be a PS5 game or it's gonna suffer from that PS5 launch. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me here today for Newswave Weekend Review. If you like this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Maybe you want to talk to me a bit about Activision's $4 billion in microtransactions. Maybe you want to talk about all the crazy rumors that I guess were also confirmed by different parties and everything with Crash Bandicoot possibly going to the Switch and PC. Would you like to see him added to Super Smash Bros. After making his, I guess, Switch debut? It's been a while since he's been on Nintendo's like big system in the first year or two. It's been a while. I remember playing it on the GameCube. It's been a while for me anyway. You'll have to let me know what you think about that whole thing. Black Ops 4 maybe you want to talk about. Leave a bunch of comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.